All right, so welcome to Stampscapes Live. I almost forgot what to say there. I haven't done a live for a few days here, and it feels like a long time. But what we're going to do here is we're going to break out the vellum again. I haven't worked on it in a while. I was trying to remember if I remembered how. But a purple tree challenge came up. I've been doing these pieces in purple of late, playing around with some different hue, color schemes, etc. And that purple foliage or tree album came up on Facebook that I noticed, and I thought, well, I've been wanting to do the vellum piece again for a while, so I thought I would do my birch tree composition in this color scheme here. So what we have here is a 4x6 photo print. Okay, you can do your backgrounds however you want on these vellum pieces, but the way that this vellum works is I stamp on a piece of vellum on both sides. I color on both sides. And then what I do with this vellum here, you can't really send out a card just like this. It's, wouldn't really make sense. So you mount it to something. So I just think that these instant backgrounds with the photographs work really well. I usually like ones with more contrast though. Okay, now I have a lot more photos with more contrast these days, but I just had a bunch of these printed up, and these ones were the ones that I kind of designed, by removing a lot of the contrast and saturations of these backgrounds, so you can stamp right on top of these without having these big areas of extreme contrast between the whites and the blues, which kind of interferes if you're stamping things right over the top of it because you get those contrasts showing right through your stamps. But on vellum, it works really great to have that contrast because you're knocking out some of the contrast with this translucent vellum coating on here, okay? Now you can do all kinds of backgrounds on here. You can, do whatever backgrounds you want, but I don't spend too much time on them these days because when you cover them up like this, you're losing a lot of the back. You're losing like 50% of the contrast and values in there, and you have to go pretty dark in the background, otherwise you won't be able to see it again through this translucent surface like this. So I'm going to work on this piece right here, and then I need to take a quick break when I get done with this piece, and we'll go and use some Super 77 spray mount to spray this, so I can bring this back in here and adhere this to the top of it, and we'll see how that goes. I haven't done this for a while, but I don't know. I mean, it's the concept's pretty easy and it's really fun. Hello, Linda. Hello, Colorado Crafter. Good to see you. All right, so inks to use on the vellum. All right, now I haven't been using like the VersaFine Clear, the Sukaneko Stays On, and some other types of inks for really a very long time. Hello, Kay. Hello, Crimson Rose. So I do believe you can probably use those two inks on here. The one that I've been using though is the Brilliance, because it's a fast drying pigment ink, okay, and it's pretty dark because it's a very surface oriented black medium in terms of pigment inks, okay. Pigment inks are pretty surface oriented because they don't absorb as much into your surface. And then this one's a water-based one, okay. The VersaFine Clear, I'm not sure if this vellum here will allow that to dry very quickly. It might dry over time. It is an oil-based pigment ink. But again, I haven't experimented with it. I'll have to do an experiment sometime with it and just test that out for us, because that would be a great choice if it dries on there and if it works. So I don't know. We'll get to that at some other time, but I'm just going to go with the one that I know works on here. Where is my other block? Okay, I think I have my other stamping block. I just rinsed off one of my other tack and peels that's a little bit more appropriate for this size, but I'll just use my really large block here. This is a full piece of tack and peel on this really large block, by the way. But for the tack and peel, I'm just going to use the opposite side of the acrylic block. If you don't know what tack and peel is, it's just this little kind of tacky temporary mounting surface like that. It's like that cling type of color form type of magnetic material that allows for temporary mounting of your unmounted rubber. This one happens to be a cling foam stamp right here. Okay, so anyways, hope everyone's having a good afternoon here, whatever time it is for you guys. All right, so this is a birch trunk design here, and I'm going to stamp that out onto this surface right here. When you're using vellum, it's not confusing, but the fact that you can do imagery on both sides, a lot of people don't do that, but I think it's a really great application for this translucent material. If you haven't seen me use this, I don't know. Hope you hang on here at least through the first, I don't know, whatever, 20 minutes of time. I'm going to show you how great this material is, especially for this type of image. Okay, it's an open image, meaning that if I stamp these trees right here, and if I stamp some more right behind it, you'd really have to mask them off, right, in order to stamp another one here so that you wouldn't have other birch trees in the background or, showing right through this. But the vellum really kind of eradicates the need for like careful masking in many different types of situations. Hello, C.M. Hawkins. All right, so stamping this out like this, you have to kind of think a little bit multi-dimensional when utilizing the vellum this way. Now, you could just stamp everything on the front of this, and then you can do things like coloring on the front and back too. But like I said, you can do more than that in this type of application. Okay, let's see here. Here's the larger birch trees right here. And you get a pretty good impression on top of this vellum. Now, some people have said, one of the things comments that I got when I first started doing this that I never ran into myself was some people said, hey, I tried my vellum and my inks just went dry on there. Okay. And I don't know they never follow up with saying what inks they use. And sometimes I've asked. This is on like Facebook groups and stuff like that. But certain types of inks might not dry, according to them. It just depends on what type of vellum you're using as well. There's certain types of vellum paper too. It just says vellum, and it's like a bond or something like that. It's not really a real vellum. It's a vellum type of surface, I think, that they're kind of, they're describing it as. So that's different, okay? So just, I don't know, if you have some vellum, I don't know, experiment on it, take a little piece and, do a few impressions on there and see how that works for you. I wouldn't heat set vellum, like true vellum. I think it would kind of warp too much. I mean, you can try it, but I don't know. I would just, if all fails, just, I don't know, use the stays on, right? Stays on pretty much dries on anything. Okay, so I have these birch trees right here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to have some other birch trees in the background, okay? But again, if you stamp this right over this, see, all those birch trees are going to show right through it. So all you do on something like this, or any type of open designs, like outline designs, okay? You can just flip this over. Okay, this is the front, and this is the back, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paint those trees out using some white paint, right? And this is an opaque white watercolor paint. It's the bleed proof white. So the bleed proof white's not just, I don't only use it for splatter painting, but I use it for splatter painting probably 95% of the time. Except for these vellum pieces where I'm using certain types of stamps over the top of it. Hello, Linda. Yeah, purple love there. Okay. A lot of Lindas there, huh? Maybe one of you should go by like a nickname or something like that. Or we'll just go by the initials, you know, like Linda B, Linda D. Okay, so bleed proof white, opaque white, okay, and I'm just painting this right on here like so. All right. It's kind of a fun process for me doing this because I really don't do much painting, if at all. I use the white paint pens, but it's not like, I don't know, traditional brush work. Not that I yearn to do traditional painting at all, but I don't know. It harkens back to, oh, I don't know, school years, I guess. I'm not really much of a brush person, and it was recognized by my my life drawing instructor. We were doing a lot of I don't know, washes and things like that, and charcoals and, you know, whatnot in our life drawing classes, and I don't know, my stuff was mediocre. And then one time we went to our we went and did field studies at the zoo. You know, the class went, and I don't know, I was just using a ballpoint pen, and he looked at that and he said, okay, you know, you're just using like hard media for now on, like pen and ink, you know, type of stuff for now on. And it was true. I was much more comfortable with kind of like a detailed media. Okay, let's see. What about Linda Bystrom? What about, we'll call you large format Linda. Linda just ordered some 11 by 17 paper. It's just like card size, you know, quarter page card. She can do it, but the larger formats, the full size page scenes and stuff like that, just that's her sweet spot. I mean, I have no idea what you would do with a 30 by 40, but I'm assuming that you know, that would be like no problem for you. Like big, gigantic poster sizes. The 11 by 17s are certainly, you know, zero, kind of a zero problem for you these days. I think I've told Linda B. I think she was probably a muralist in her previous life, you know, doing like walls and things like that. All right, so we have our trees painted out like that, right? And then you flip it over like that. Isn't that cool? So see, I love this because, see, this is stamped on the front of this. So see all that detail in the bark and everything like that, the patterning of the birch. And you block it out in the back, and now you have this opacity right here. Now this is a pretty, like I said, we're using the bleed proof white, which is really fantastic ink for this purpose because it is so opaque, so that when you lay this over, you know, you lay it over anything, you know, you get that opacity in the birch trees. Now we can color those trees from the front, right? We can't color it from the back anymore because we've blocked it out, but now I can add in, a little bit of tone, some shading with some colored pencils right on the front of it where I'm not even interacting with the white surface in the background. So let's see, I didn't want to put this right on top of this because I wasn't sure if all this white was dry yet, but the white dries pretty fast, okay? So let's see, so see those clouds show right through there, but not through the trees, all right? Okay, so let's do some more work on here to build this scene out. We'll do another grouping of trees in the background here, and let's lay down some other imagery on. You can do it in the front or back, really. Okay, so I was thinking about some grassy textures down here, like that. And here it is. If I can lay this down in the front of this if I want to, but let's say I want some of this grassy texture in the back there, then all I would have to do is just stamp it on the back right there, right? The whole concept is not confusing, but it is more layered. It's a layered thinking. As I'm saying all this to you, I'm kind of saying it to me too. All right, so this is some of the grass texture on the front, right? But if you want that texturing to go like back up here, then you do that on the back. All right, so we'll go like this. I mean, it's stamping over that white on the back right there. See that going through there? But you flip that over, and it's not interfering like whatsoever with the front side view of it. Okay, now see, I'll put some more trees coming in from back here now. And then what we'll do is, this is the funny thing about this now. Okay, if I want some leaves in between these trees, okay, like say from these foreground trees, and we put some leaves in here, and then we have some more trees in the background. If we want these leaves to be in front of those back trees, then what I do is I have to lay down some of those leaves right in here, and then I'll block those out with some white paint, okay? Oh, Stamp Wars is coming up. I need to get this done fast, so if anyone wants to check that out. Is it starting right now, or is it starting like in an hour? I forgot about that. This vellum is 55 pound right here. All right. And mine does curl, okay? In fact, mine was curling right after I just stamped that image out. I think it's, see, when I'm holding this like this, just from the heat of my hands, it starts to, see, it's like curling right now, like that. Look at that. Isn't that insane? Then I let it go, and it flattens out, you know? So, I don't know. I must be like really hot or something like that in here, temperature-wise. Okay, so let's see. Reverse painting with stamps. Okay, let's get this done because, yeah, that Stamp Wars is going to be hilarious. They didn't do the sabotages though in the Stampscapes one last month because they said, hey, you know, we already have enough to do. Let's not do the sabotages. So they didn't really do the sabotage, but the sabotages are hilarious. Okay, let's see here. I'm going to lay down some of these leaves like this. Okay. Let's go really basic with this. I'm just going to go, let me see. I don't know if I can do this color. I think, yeah, my pad, my 30-year-old pad, I use this to ink up and to color in like that, but I don't use it for my impressions anymore because it is, it's disintegrating. Let's see. I would get a new pad, but they just, you know, those Marvy pads, they don't sell them anymore. Okay, all right, here, sweet plum. I don't know if I hardly ever use this sweet plum. Okay, now remember, this isn't the color that I'm necessarily going for, because I'm going to use these ones, paint pens, after I do these, you know, for mid-ground leaves. I'm going to be putting in some of these over the front of it, okay? This is like three-dimensional chess on Star Trek. when it comes to at least stamping, for me at least, it's like when I start doing this, it starts coming back to me in terms of, I don't know, the process or possibilities, I guess, with this. Okay, we'll go something like that. All right, so that's, again, it's right over those trees, right? But on here, it looks like that. So it's behind these trees, okay? And it's behind these trees, but in front of this photograph. I don't want to lay this down here right now because those are still a little bit wet, but you can kind of, you can't really see it too well. You have to merge it on there. I think you get the point of that. Okay, so those are on there. You know what I was thinking? A lot of times what I do, though, is from the backside now, you can kind of white out some of those leaves so that when you stamp something out over the top of it, these leaves here will be, they'll be opaque, right? Because you don't have anything showing through the white of it, okay? So keep that in mind. You know what happened here? Some of those, those leaves there are water-based, so it went right through my water-based, I forgot the name of it, the bleed-proof white. That's not a problem because I'm going to be going over it with this anyways, but that was interesting to see. I don't remember that happening before. Okay, so let's go with some more trees. Right here with this one. Let's see, Colorado has done a summer, thanks for checking, Karen. Summer tank with heavy vellum, stamped with black pigment ink, heat embossed. Oh, and colored the back with alcohol markers. I love that. That sound of that effect there. I've always thought that embossing on this would look really cool, but on my 55-pound, you know, I mean, that it just starts curling up just with the heat of my hand. If I try to emboss on this one, I think it would be like it would curl up into like a size of a straw. Now maybe if I did something where like the embossing was the last thing that I'm doing and I already have everything mounted. No, but then I would have the spray mount that would be going back. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. Okay, so this is going to be like right in here. I mean, you can put it wherever you want. I'm going to put it like right about here. Okay. And again, this is the Brilliance ink. And again, this is on the back side of the vellum. Okay. So it looks like that. It looks like totally like confusing, but so you go like that and it's behind these trees, right? The Brilliance isn't showing through the front side birch trees. So now what I have to do here now is you just go and you just kind of repeatedly paint out your different layers of see-through objects here. Here's one of the things, I always have to kind of keep switching out my blotter paper here because it's hard for you guys to see, because everything in the background always shows through it here. So see right here. So I have these trees right here that I need to blot out, or kind of, I don't know. In a sense, it's kind of masking it out. It's kind of akin to like the process of a liquid frisk. You know what I mean? But you're just not removing this one. You're just leaving it on there. A frisk is kind of this liquid masking material. Okay, so going in here like so. I was just seeing if that brilliance ink. Now see on this one right here, I'm painting directly on the brilliance ink. On the other one, I was painting on the back side. So I just want to make sure that brilliance ink is dry enough for me to go on here. It looks like it's not interfering with it too much. I can see this one right here, this trunk right here is still a little bit wet. The brilliance ink is a fast drying ink though. Maybe I should hit it just briefly. All right. I don't want that to curl on me too much. So the Dr. Martin's Bleed Proof White and the Brilliance, again, they're two types of media that are designed to dry quickly. The Bleed Proof White has to dry very quickly because some of the people that are using this a lot are calligraphers, so they're doing like a lot of nib, dip pen types of lettering or brush lettering. So they won't want that, to be like wet, when they're doing that type of thing for too long. It has to set up very quickly. Okay, let's see here. All right, that is that. I did pick up a little bit of that black paint where it was this trunk over here was still a little bit moist, but that's going to be kind of behind a canopy of leaves in the end result, so I don't think it'll be any problem. So that's what that looks like right there, okay? Now we just have to kind of flesh this whole thing out. I'm looking forward to seeing what this looks like in violet tones, okay? But one of the things I'm going to do here first, let's see what I can do with this wet brush here. Yeah, I'll just throw it here. Okay, so let's go on with, I like using colored pencils on this vellum. I think the colored pencils work very well on vellum. It has that nice kind of tooth to it. I have a friend who did this and added the dogs, put them in a light box for Afghan hound trophies. In a light box. So Karen, it's like illuminated from the back with the light box or something like that. I'm trying to picture that one right there. Okay, so let's see. So a range of green tones, okay? Can you feel all our eyes on your hands as you paint? It's like a psychic link I could feel. I'm telling you, you can definitely feel I don't know, kind of the energy in person. But I was telling someone recently, you can kind of feel it in these demos too, at times. You can especially feel it when there's, I don't know, I do a lot of experimenting, and with a lot of this style of stamping that I do, where if I'm building up a lot of color, okay, the less layers, that I do on something, the more apparent something is going to look like early on. You know what I mean? Because you're not doing a lot to it. You're just kind of like a metallic inks on foil or something like that, where I'm just doing the impressions. I'm basically, not really doing too much else. Okay, so anyways, on this one, I'm adding the coloring to the back of this, okay? So see how that, you can just go right over the whole thing if you want to, like this. It doesn't matter if you go over the white because it's not going to show through, okay? But yeah, some of these pieces that I'm doing where I just don't know where it's going to go. And early on in the process, or I would say 75% through the process, I don't know how something's going to come out. I do have confidence in the different techniques. Like for me, it's like the white pigment ink. If I add that in the end, it brings a lot of things together, or highlights or something like that. But there's this tension in the air. Like, what the heck is he doing? And you definitely feel it in person, though. And then there's just kind of this overall relief when if it comes out okay. Which I guess is the fun and excitement of it. It's like going on a roller coaster ride, watching something develop. And not really knowing because, whatever, the person doing it isn't quite sure where it's headed either. The first 11 by 17 monster map that I was doing, I just, I didn't know how that thing was going to come out because, the whole idea of it was kind of almost opposite of what I usually do. I'm not usually going for like almost like clutter. So I don't know, it was just different sensibilities and whatnot. So I feel the eyes on me, kind of waiting for a train wreck. Okay, so there's that green in there. Look at that. And look and see what the vellum, how that vellum really works out fantastic like that. And the colored pencils are a really good one. Here's what I'm doing right here. I'm kind of aiming, there's this little opening right here. And I'm kind of aiming my lighting to be coming from here. So my lighting in general my shadow work is kind of going in this direction. And it's roughly coming from here. So you don't have to do I don't know, like a formal, line or something like that going up there because this ground isn't flat either. So your shadows are going to be a little bit different. But just in general, I'm kind of aiming for this direction. Let me see. Let me get a little bit more of an angle here for that. Okay, here, let's see. Let's go like this. So you see this kind of this angling of shadows right there. That is the thing that directs your light. So your angles for these trees right down here might be a little bit more, I don't know, whatever, upright. And then as you move over here, your angles for that shadow get, a lot more flat, okay, like that. But again, this grass isn't supposed to be flat like concrete or something like that. It's rounded. There's forms in it, so it's not just going to be like a straight line or something like that. So you just kind of vary it a little bit like this, and then there's shadows in here. I was talking about rendering in my last couple videos, so I'm going in here and there's textures in this grass like this. So you just kind of reiterate that in terms of your shading like this. All right, so there's that, and this is what it looks like this way. And this is what it's going to look like over the top of these clouds in there. See, like that? And we haven't even used the paint pens yet, so I don't know. It's okay, you don't have to do too much to this. I mean, Yeah, this technique. And then, okay, now see, this is when we look at this grassy area in here, and I'm doing a certain type of value in terms of darkness with these colored pencils here. It's not going to be as dark because now we're looking at these colored pencils through a translucent film, okay? So you can also do more of this right on the front side of it, right? So you can refine your coloring or whatnot. I mean, you can do all of it in the front too, you know? I like using the back side of it. But here I'm doing it on the front there just to, I don't know, kind of define it a little bit further. And again, the Vellum's a really fantastic surface for colored pencils. Okay, let's see. Hello, Debbie. Linda, it feels, sometimes I don't know, you know, and that's the most exciting ones if it's going to be a train wreck. When I was working on the Pearl papers recently, I thought, I don't know where this is going because I couldn't get a good impression, but it was the stamps. I hadn't cleaned them off, and I never had that issue before. But I hadn't had caked on. I hadn't had caked on stays on ink on a stamp before like that, so it was pretty crazy. Hello, Gila R. My fonts are really small here. I don't have my glasses on. Thanks, Debbie. Inspiring. That's a nice word there. Like I said, we were talking about some of these pieces here where I just don't know where it's going to go. Now, on this one, yeah, I kind of know, but I haven't done like pinks, you know, purples before, so it's not so much of a technique change. But yeah, when you're watching some of me doing a lot of these pieces, I don't go and rehearse, you know, these videos before. Some of them, you know, it can be argued that I should. That's why I always have that. I always make that comment on some of them that, hey, this one's not instructional, it's experimental. That's why I call this the Stampscapes lab a lot of times. And it's especially these days where I'm working on like I don't know, all these different types of papers, the holographics, the printable vinyls, stuff like that. Gosh, I don't know. I have no idea. I have no idea what we can do on those things a lot of times. And it's most of the times I've been pleasantly surprised that something works as well as it does, okay? On the Pearl paper recently that I loved the end result, but that stuff just was not taking certain types of inks very well. Okay, it was much more akin to a Pearl cardstock. Okay, I was assuming that it was going to take a lot of my inks, like the printable vinyl ones. Okay, this is the printable Pearl one. It had a different surface on it, so it really got me by surprise. And I really had to do a lot more experimentation with it. I had to go back to the drawing board on that one. But the Claire worked really fantastic on it. Okay, so you see these shadows coming out from here. Now, there's going to be a canopy of leaves up here, so it can be said that there's areas in here that would be darker probably, okay? But again, you flip this over, and this is what this is looking like right now. Okay, we have a lot more work to do in here, and colored pencil work, but these things come together pretty fast, okay? Especially when you're just working over something like this, and you can just photograph and you just kind of merge it on there. And you got that background, I don't know, it's like 30% of the scene's kind of already taken care of. You don't have to do anything about that. Okay. This is a 55, Rachel. It's a 55, what is it? Where did it go? Someone stole the Vellum pack. Here it is right here. It's the Canson. And this is not a tested Vellum or something like that, and I've come to start using the Canson. Okay, I got the Canson like 20 years ago, and I don't know. I probably used a few sheets of it, and that was it. And I just kind of started playing around with it a little bit. I don't know, maybe a year ago or a year and a half ago or something like that. Oh, check out my, if you, I don't remember what video number it is, but check out my Halloween one from last year. The skeleton dancing in the forest. I don't remember what it was called, but that one was really fun because I utilized, say if you stamp something in white in the Vellum like this, and you put it over white like that, you can't see it. It's invisible. Then I slid, a darker piece in the background, and like a forest like this, like a daytime forest, became like a nighttime scene with a dancing skeleton that you can see because, like I said, you can see other things. You can reveal other things, like that. I mean, that looks completely different, right? Depending on your background right there. So, I don't know. You can do a daytime type of scene like this. You can do like splatter painting in the background like this with some white paint, right? And then if you can figure out some kind of method where you have a card and then you have this side thing that you can slip in like this, and it can all of a sudden be snowing in there. It's pretty cool like that. I don't know. I haven't done anything in regards to like this movable kind of objects, but it's really been cool to experiment on there and figure it out. Yeah. Here's the one thing about the heavier weight vellums. Okay. Now this is just a 55, so I don't know if those heavier weight vellums. I think the heavier weight vellums would be kind of nice in that they're not curling on me as much. But I don't know if they would be quite as see-through as something like this. We'd be able to see things through the Vellum, like these colored pencils too that I've done all on the background here. Would those show through as well? I mean, it looks like, this Vellum is so thin that looks like I've done a lot of the colored pencil right on the front. I did a little bit, but most of it is on this back side right here. So those are the only things that I would take into consideration if you are doing some translucent back side, front side types of applications here. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, definitely aged Vellum. Okay, so let's see here. I have to get my bearings here. Okay, so the light is coming in here. So the sides of the trees, I will put a little bit of shadow on it. I like to go with a little bit of gray or, like a bluish tinge on my trees, okay? To reiterate that lighting in there, okay? See, this blue kind of is reflective of, well, maybe not this blue right here, but I have a blue sky right here, right? So I like to use some of that same type of colored lighting in my objects. Okay, so I'm trees to the right of the scene. I'm doing some right side shading. Okay, I mean, this is really fast, right? I'm just coloring like roughly half of the tree in this, okay? And then on this one, this is black right here. I'll go in and I'll reiterate that. Maybe I won't cover up all the blues, so it's kind of transitioning with a little bit of a bluish tinge in there. Sometimes I go a little bit heavier down at the base like this, okay? So that it looks like the trunks are kind of sitting in the ground a little bit more. You kind of anchor them down a little bit, okay? You see that where these trunks are slightly darker like that? Now, one of the things I'll show you guys on this too is using a white paint pen. So we'll eradicate a lot of the lines on the illuminated side of the trees, kind of with the last step that we do here. So let's get these trees on the opposite side where they're shaded. You can come in here and kind of, add in some shading in various areas, just so that it's not just so light, light and dark from one side. We have this foliage in here, so you kind of darken in some areas here and there, where this foliage up here is casting a shadow, okay? You just kind of oscillate your trunks from light and dark. And again, here, down here, I'm kind of anchoring these trunks into the grass a little bit more, giving them some visual weight. Notice how I'm changing this because this is where my hand goes, right? So it's just easier for me to flip this around. See, I don't want to go over here. I mean, I can go like here, but you won't be able to see the scene, so as I'm working on it. I didn't used to use colored pencils too much, but I started using things like this Vellum, and it just, I don't know, it's perfect for it. Okay. Front side colored pencils. All right. See those shadows kind of developing a little bit more, but see that, don't those trees feel a little bit more anchored? You just put a little bit more down there. It's like you're carrying the black impression down right into the surface a little bit more, and this is what it looks like over the top of the photograph like that. I mean, there's clouds, if you look really closely, you might be able to see some cloud formation showing through, but it's anyone that received a card like this or whatever, or if you're doing it, I don't think you're gonna, if there's a really super harsh kind of cloud in the background with blue skies, like a, cobalt blue or something like that, where there's a ton of contrast, you might see it a little bit more. But, just, pick out, your cloud accordingly, to go in the background of something like this. But I do think it would look a little bit better if there was more contrast up here with a, much more darker and maybe brighter sky like that. So yeah, magic slider card videos. That would be really fantastic on something like this. You can go like, it'd be kind of cool is if you had like a strip like this, but you had 3 different photographs kind of connected up somehow. And there was like a sunset one, and you go into like this one right here. Or if you're going thematic, you have kind of like I don't know, like a sunrise or something like that. And then you have high noon or something like that. And then you pull this out like this, and then you have, a nighttime sky, maybe like a full moon rising in there would be really cool. I don't think do I have a, yeah, let me see. I was going to see if I had a full moon stamped out here somewhere where you can see what that would look like. I don't know. Here's a lightning strike or something like that in the background. But look at that. If you had some kind of thing like that, it would really change the spirit, if you went from that, tranquil, calm thing like that. But this is the fun about the Vellum. You can kind of, you can really change the personality to just be, with what you have going on in that open space in the background, provided you left some open space like that. You can even have mountains in the background or something like that. I used to have a customer that she, I don't know, I think at one point in time, that's what she stamped on. So I got this idea from her. And I hadn't tried it. I always loved the things that she was doing. And then at one point in time, I thought, okay, I need to try some of those things. I really liked how she would stamp on there, and then she would basically just color the background. She didn't like adhere the vellum to something with some additional imagery on the back. But she would color on the background, or she would stamp out imagery. She'd stamp like a lakeside cove on the front of it and like a mountain on the back so that it was real translucent. So it really pushed the imagery that she stamped on the back really back into, as far as like the visual distance went. So I always liked that type of idea, but I don't know, I just got around to trying it. You know, it takes me like 20 years to kind of, you know, get the courage up to try it. I'm joking, but I didn't try a lot of things, granted, though. All right, so anyways, there. I mean, that looks pretty good. I mean, even if you just did that and you just mounted this on a piece of white paper, I think that looked pretty cool. All right, let's see. I haven't been reading some of your things here. Let's see. Oh. But yeah, the 140 weight, that's really pretty thick there. That would be really fantastic to work on, though. Oil-based or wax-based pencil crayons. These are wax-based, Rachel. These are just some barrel Prismacolors. Older than my Vellum here. It's probably a bit more like 30-year-old Prismacolors right here. This is right here. So these are 30-year-old Prismacolors. I got that when I was in kindergarten. I'm just joking. But they are pretty old there. Yeah. Okay, so hello, Vivid Web. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to think. Okay, here's another thing. What am I doing now on this one? Let's get into some of these paint pens, okay? All right, so as I was mentioning, they have this purple tree challenge, you know, on the Facebook group, which I saw that and I was like, oh, that's cool. I'm gonna do a couple new pieces with the purple trees. People are thinking, what the heck with the purple trees? You know, I don't know. It's kind of, you know, that wisteria or I don't know, what was that other one? Was it the Jack Garan? I can't remember. But here's some purple trees using the aspen stamps right there. But say I want to bring in that type of layering into this piece right down here. So with the Vellum, these are mirror cards, by the way, if you haven't seen a mirror card before. This is just silver cardstock down there. And then when you look at this at a 45-degree angle, it becomes water, right? A water reflection. So we want to do this, but here's the thing about this one right here. You can add in layers of these paints like this. You can layer down some of the background, but then you can layer it on the front side of it too. So it's really cool working with that type of dynamic. It's just something, you know, you can't do it on anything else but a translucent or transparent medium. I've never done this on like acetate. I mean, we'd have to use, I don't know what we'd have to do. We would have to do StazOns for sure or something like that, but I don't know. Okay. It was like kindergarten level in college, though. A college kindergarten level. Okay, so anyways, here we go with these different foliage. This is a 3mm paint pen, okay? So I'm going to layer down some, kind of a, I call it my stamp impressionism type of little effect, you know, little dots of colored light or something like that in here in the form of these blossoms, okay? Now, layering this down like so. I was layering that on the front side. I meant to do that on the back, but it doesn't matter because there's going to be dots there too. Okay, so let's go like this. They're going to be on both sides, okay? So we're layering this down like so. You got to remember what's front and back. I guess it would have helped if I looked. But layering this down like this, okay, so I'm kind of clustering it too. You're not. Okay. And I kind of cluster things a little bit. These represent leaves as well, so they are, you know, these little kind of saplings coming up from the the base of the trees as well. So you can kind of put some of these down here, like this. You can put it in between branches too, like this, because these are whited out in here, okay? I haven't done this for a while, so I need to, I'll refer to, I'd recommend when you're doing this to flip it around and, you know, just to see what you're doing here, but I'm hurrying through this here for Stamp Wars. There's not, I mean, we're almost done here. I have to mount this. I just pray that I get it mounted nice and flat. That's the biggest thing about doing this. If you're going to mount it, I mean, it's not that hard or anything like that, but if I'm working with a larger piece sometimes, that is when I didn't mount it up really smoothly, and I get a bunch of little ripples in it. So that being said, I mean, that happens to me all the time. If you try this out and you spray mount this to something, just kind of expect that you're going to get a bubble or two in there that maybe won't work out for you, okay? So it happens on me. Usually I just kind of work that bubble into the, you know, the whole thing. It's like this little three-dimensional area. It's in the grass or something like that, okay? Maybe not on the 4x6, but, you know, when I was doing, like 5x7s or something like that. I didn't know that part came out. Here's a lighter one right here. And we'll layer this in here like so. This one's going to be kind of interesting because this lighter one is going to look like it's in back of the darker one, okay? Because again, this is translucent, so we're going to be viewing this foliage from the front. This is all in the back right here. I don't know what these purple ones down here in the grass are going to look like because the grass is underneath this. Okay, so I'll be putting on some more of this on the front side. Okay, so let's take a look, I think. It's time to take a look at this and see. So that is that right there. All right. And this is going like that. But I'm going to be adding this now on the front side of it. I'm going to be adding the lighter portions of it. So that in there, that's not what I want. I want these lighter portions. So in my rendering kind of instructional videos, I've mentioned that I've worked from dark to light with my opaque media. And that's especially true with this. So one of the things that's really nice about this is because I'm adding this onto a completely different surface than that backside application of the darker tones. These ones are not going to merge with those because they're separated. They're not going to be blending together like that. I watch many other channels, but this one is professional. I thought this one was like ultra, like non-professional here. At least in terms of my planning and, I don't know, kind of organization, I would say. Because we're just kind of winging it here. It's like the Stampscapes lab. But that's good to hear, though. Okay, so we're going to be putting these down. And see, these leaves right here represent the leaves that are in back of these trees right here, right? Because I did it on the back side of it, and they're in the back of the birch trees. So let's go in here with this. And we'll build this up, and I'll also add in some white into here as well. Maybe some brighter pinks might be kind of interesting too. Let's do that. Yeah, I don't have a super bright. Well, here, let me go with this one first, and then I'll bring in some of the artistros. The artistros are the 0.7 millimeter. Okay, so they're real fine point, but these ones are more opaque. This one, for some reason, right here is like very, very, it's really watery for some reason. It's like there's no white in there or something. So it's just not translucent. Or opaque, I should say. It's too transparent, I should say. Okay. These are Emoki, I don't know how to pronounce it, pens here. All right, so adding this down, we're getting some opacity going in here. It might not be bad to kind of merge in a little few dots of green in there as well, just to kind of bring a little bit of continuity between that green surface down there and the top portion. Oh, and one of the things I'll do, kind of in the last steps, is I'll put some of this pink down here for some fallen blossoms. Okay, but this, yeah, we definitely need a zip of some intensity with these leaves up there. The greens are almost more intense at this point in time. You lost your black Prismacolor. What a difference from the originals. Oh, are the latest Prismacolors different than the barrel then? You're saying? As far as the consistency goes? I guess so. That's what Karen's saying too, huh? Huh. All right, here comes some pink in here. What is the brand of the Prismacolors now then? Or are they not Barrel, or is it Barrel something or something like that? Like a merger of a couple different companies or something like that? Back when I bought my colored pencils, I think there were only two brands that were available that I can remember, at least. And I don't remember what the other one was. It was one of those other art companies that I think the barrels were the ones that were more kind of a little bit more mass market, and the other ones were like a Winsor Newton or something like that. I don't remember, but I don't know. I was a student, so I just bought the cheaper ones, and I was glad I did because we barely used them in school. Okay, so that's some foliage down there. I'm going to add in some darker impressions in here now that we have those down there. It's looking a little bit too busy up here for sure. So let's let that, are those dry? I think those are dry. Okay. We're going to go back to our brilliance right here and add in the foreground. So I added this in the background, and now I'm adding it in the foreground right here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, some of my pencils are really small, and some of them are barely used. Like I'm looking at a magenta and stuff like that, or darker reds. You know, I barely used them over the years, and I've hardly used them in stamping. I should have been, but most of the times I was using glossy cardstock for years and years, because I liked to get I liked the contrast and the saturation that you can get from glossy cardstock, but you can also get dulls. You can get a really big range of tones from glossy cardstock because your media stays more surface oriented on glossy, okay, or just sealed surfaces in general. All right, but I don't know. There's something to be said for, I don't know, the kind of the hand applied media as well, such as colored pencils and whatnot. I mean, I really like this look down in this area right here, which you can kind of get with dye-based inks, but I don't know, the colored pencils are probably a little bit more direct. Okay, so I'm adding some of these tones down like this, and this is mellowing out some of those high kind of intensity little dots in there that are now working more to complement kind of the color structure of the piece. Okay, let's go like that. Here, let me get this out of here so you can see what's kind of going on here. A little bit more. Okay, there we go. We have that. And I don't know, the Brilliant stamps right over the tops of all those other types of media just fine because, again, it is a pigment ink and it's fairly thick. I don't know if like I said, I don't know if the VersaFine will go. I'm almost certain the StazOn would have no problem stamping in there. Let's add in some of the reeds here to give this a little bit more depth. Let me see if I want to go with any more. Let's go with some of those little colored dots down here, like little blossoms or petals here too. Okay, so adding this down in here, I kind of cluster this a little bit. You can go with like multicolor, dots down here, but chances are if you have these different types of colored trees or leaves, foliage, by putting them down on the forest floor, it'll bring a lot of continuity, color continuity to your piece. And I think it just makes it a little bit more kind of alive and exciting. I don't know if you can see that. Let's go with a couple larger ones too. I'm tempted to put the fences in here would look kind of interesting too. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. I don't want to clutter this too much. All right. So let's go with that. Oh, I know too. See, there's all kinds of different possibilities. I'm forgetting about like the opaque, translucent white in here. I'm looking at the lighting in here, the shadows. I really like that look. Okay, I'm gonna add in some foreground in here, but what I was mentioning is I'm gonna add in a little bit of a kind of a foggier type of look in here with some white ink. And I think you can use like a Hero Hues or anything like that, an oil-based one, but I'm going to use the Brilliance because it dries very quickly for me in here. And this is something that looks really interesting when you do that black background in here too. If you kind of switch it out in there like that, like for a Halloween type of scene or something like that, because you can't see this sometimes if it's against a light background, but if you put a dark background in there, you can really see it through there. Okay, so let's see here. Those leaves up there are a little bit wet still, so I won't add this up there for right now, but let's add it down in this lower portion. And it's kind of interesting because you're adding this over some media, but some of the media is in the back of this. So it's like you're really not adding it over anything physically. It's just kind of layered over the top of it because a lot of that media is on the back of it, mostly that colored pencil work. Okay, let's see. I'm going to kind of get rid of some of this value up here and make it a lot lighter looking, and we'll kind of strengthen the passage of light coming through here. All right, do you see that right in there where it's kind of glowing a little bit more? Okay. All right. I think that is good there. Let's take a look and see what it looks like with our cloud like that in the background. It's looking like more like a fairy tale or something like that, you know. It's really whimsical. I should put like a deer or something like that in there. It looks like a really good focal point for something like that. Okay, but let's see. I'm waiting for that brilliance ink to dry. I'm going to bring some of this up into that area as well to really kind of diffuse some of that. I think it's time to also adhere this to this background right here. That'll give it a couple minutes to set up here. All right, so here's the process of this. I'm going to put a really thin layer, but complete layer of some spray adhesive on this. All right. Now you can do it two ways. You can spray seal this one right here. Okay, you can put that spray adhesive on the back of your vellum, but I think it's better to go with whatever the more stiff component is in this. Because if I spray this, it'll probably start really curling up on me. If I spray seal this one, I don't think it's going to really do anything. And then I can just lay down the more flexible piece right over the top of it like that. Okay, so whatever the thicker one is, go with that one to spray seal. And it's kind of weird sometimes. I've taken out pieces like this before, and usually, you know, you're taking something like that and you're putting the, spray seal on the back of that, but you're putting it on the front of that because that's what you're going to be adhering your vellum to. So just kind of be mindful of that. I've made mistakes sometimes. It's just like I flip this over and I start spray sealing like that. So anyways, okay, so give me a couple minutes here. I'm going to go outside. You should never spray seal inside with it, or, use any type of these aerosol things, but it'll just take me about a minute. All right, so I will be back with that. All right, spray sealants, or not spray sealants, but spray adhesives are some of my least favorite things to work with. If I'm doing a lot of this type of adhesion, it's like I could feel it like on the hairs of my arm and stuff like that, where it's like sticky. But this is one of those things. It works really well for this type of application. The spray sealants, where you can do, I've seen other things where people have put a thin layer of glue on the back of it and they've really spread it around, and then they've, adhered vellum very nicely to their surfaces. So you can do something like that too if you don't have like a spray adhesive. Okay, now I'm working from the center out like this, as opposed from one side over the next, okay? And I think I got a pretty good seal. Sometimes if your vellum is really curly, it's kind of a little bit tricky, but I don't know, just try to flatten it out as best you can. And like I said, sometimes I get bubbles, or sometimes the spray adhesive kind of, it builds up a little bit where there's a little bit of like a big amount of it, like a little glob of it, okay? You can remove it if you want to, but sometimes when you go over the top of it, you'll see it in there. or it's a lot more transparent where there's a, like this dot in there where it becomes, the vellum becomes more see-through, okay? That happens sometimes. But like I said, I don't know. I just see it as part of the whole thing, technique or whatnot. And I expect to get that a lot of times. And if I don't, it's a bonus, right? Okay, so let's see here. Oops, let me see. I wasn't scrolling down. I wasn't watching the comments here. Okay, let's see. Yes, a deer. How do you spray without getting spots? Oh yeah, okay. Now that's exactly what Candy was just referring to. So you gotta make sure that you get a really smooth thing. But like I said, it's when you get those little clumps of adhesion on there, or adhesive on a surface, and then you roll it over, and those little dots of thicker glue. One of the things that you always do though is, okay, I didn't bring my can in here, but here's another one. Okay, so on something like this, on spray adhesives, you get this buildup like that. So one of the things you do, like spray thing, you turn it upside down and you spray it out after you're done. But you also kind of get the sticky amount off of that right there, because that's what's kind of catching sometimes, and it's building up, and this thing is spraying out. It's building up on this little thing, and then it goes, and it builds up, and it goes. It's like this little glob of something, okay? But what you also do is, and it doesn't always work for me, okay? I give some practice sprays on a different piece, okay? Then when I'm going with this, I give a loose spray that's about, I did it from about 12 inches away, like a foot or arm's reach, okay, to spray this. And I'm starting out here, and then I'm just kind of going over it like that. And then I go over it again, and I go, I hit it like that. And that gave me a really kind of even spray. When these cans start getting low too, the aerosol starts running out, so it's not as strong of a spray. So it can get a little bit more globby that way, okay, because it's just not shooting out at the velocity that it did, when this is, more full. So just keep that in mind, But like I said, I just kind of expect to get some dots, and I can probably see some. No, maybe not on this one. I got this one pretty good. But, like I said, if you just kind of expect it going into it, I don't know. It's not so much of I would say it's not so much of a big deal to me, because I just don't expect to. I don't expect to get a really great application of it all the time, okay? Because I've had some really bad ones. I've done this one piece where I did 2 layers of vellum, okay? I did this something like that. Then I went with another layer on top of that. That one got crazy because there were ripples, and it was a half-page scene too. So there were like ripples all the way down in here, and it was a snow scene. So I just incorporated those ripples into the scene, and I added some additional shadow work, like on the bottom side of the ripple where it looks like kind of this. There were like air bubbles in it too. So I just kind of incorporated those air bubbles into the composition by saying, that's just part of the texture of the snow or something like that. So, yeah. Okay, so let's go with the white paint pen. Okay. Let's see here. I'm gonna add a little bit more shadow work. Uh-oh, Stamp Wars started. I'll get this going here quickly. So if anyone wants to check out that Nancy Stamps channel, I don't know, people might have already went over that, and that's fine. That is an awesome program. They might not have started yet, though, because it's usually this, they're kind of introducing people and kind of getting the, the rules down and stuff for the first-time viewers and things like that. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit more shadow work on the front of this, okay? So I'm increasing kind of that lighting scheme coming through there. But now with the white on the opposite side of these trees, I like getting rid of some of that line work, okay? So I'll go in with this, and I'll just kind of illuminate, the side of the tree. facing. I'm not getting rid of like all of that line, okay? Because I want some of that definition in there. This adds a really great highlight to those trees. See that? Doesn't that kind of bring out that lighting a little bit more strongly? And then you can kind of, I'll just get the line here first, and then I'll just kind of incorporate it in a little bit more with some additional little texturing, okay? Kind of make it a little bit scratchy, you know, it kind of incorporates in with the whole kind of tree texturing, okay? So see these trees to the left of the center lighting are getting right side illumination. All right, so the trees look a little bit more dimensional now, don't they? Okay, now that line kind of isn't very incorporated in, so I go like this, and I go with the texturing of the tree, and I do these little kind of strokes with the contour of the tree. And you can see that there's those little strokes in the design itself too, so I'm just kind of going and reiterating that. So it's this little scribble. I'll show you what it looks like right here. Let's see. Okay, so this is the side of the tree like this, and it kind of looks like this, okay? And then what I'm doing is I'm going in like this in areas, okay? Just kind of keep it a little bit irregular. Don't do it the whole thing, but just kind of bring in these little elements like that into your tree, because that's going along with the spirit of the design like that. I have those done in little black lines, and I'm just going in and reiterating that with a few of these little white ones like this. And you get a much more kind of three-dimensional looking tree. It kind of goes in the spirit of what I've been talking about in my last couple videos on rendering, okay? But this vellum, though, when I started playing around with this vellum, and especially with those paint pens too, it was like, okay, I can finally do kind of what I imagined when I designed this birch tree stamp. I designed this birch tree stamp a long time ago because I went out to Maine, and people in Maine, the stampers out there were asking, hey, you think you can do some birch trees? So I did them, but I wasn't, I wanted that layering to go in there. And I didn't want to, I'm not someone that doesn't likes to do a lot of masking. So if I wanted anything behind these birch trees, I really had to kind of mask them off. And, that's not like a fun part of stamping for me. But now if I can do it just like this, and I don't have to mask anything, that for me is really, I don't know, a great application for this type of imagery just in general. Just utilizing double, two sides of a given surface, that's designed to do that anyway. All right, so that is that right there. See those trees right there? You don't get too much of an outline. I want a little bit of an outline, defining outline, where in some areas, but you kind of just scribble it up. But don't they look a lot more dimensional that way? We got our light pouring through there, and I like adding little highlights coming in like that. We'll reiterate this kind of lighting on the top little tufts of these grass in here. We've shaded some areas so you can illuminate the other side of it, okay? Like so. See a little kind of a little sparkly, oh, I don't know, whatever, light reflection or something like that coming off of dew. It could represent wildflowers or something like that. Here's a little bit of lighting in here too. So you can kind of illuminate that a little bit more. It kind of gives it that little magical kind of little bit of lighting when you have something like that glistening off of the surface here. It can represent, like I said, highlighting or dew. If it's highlighting, there's probably some little moisture in the in that surface. Let's put some of this. Let's put little highlights on some of these leaves in here. Okay, there's these purple leaves, but they can be illuminated as well. I won't add too much to it, but add it in accordingly. Okay, now one of the things I was kind of waiting to do down here, it looks okay as is, but I think this will look really good. I hope. But let's add in a little bit more foreground down here, okay? And it just kind of frames off the edges here. Oops, let me get that on there. I'm kind of creating a little bit of a visual pathway too. When you do things on the left and right bottom corners like that, but you leave this kind of opening, it creates this visual pathway for someone to enter the scene. So when you do stuff like that, I mean, if you can put it all the way up, in the front, but you're creating kind of a barrier for the entryway for your viewer to enter the scene through. So this becomes a little bit more welcoming, and I don't know, people feel compelled, right, going into the light or something like that, unless it's Poltergeist, the movie. But you create that little passageway like that, and kind of this entryway for that illumination, Yellow Brick Road or something like that type of thing. Okay, let me add some of this up into these leaves as well. See, there's some areas that are a little bit lighter in here, and I'll add in some of this little bit of diffusion into those trees like that. And that kind of mellows out some of those dots up there too that were getting a little bit too extreme with my the amount of it that I used. Okay. I need to watch out for my freshly stamped reeds down here that are still a little bit wet. And I think that should do it there. Let's go. Let's make this a little bit more extreme. Let's add a little bit more white to that, like that. So, anyway, kind of a slice of nature. Birch trees have purple foliage, right? And that's our use of vellum here. Let me get this one here. I don't know, vellum can be fun. That's the name of this. Video here. Oh, there we go. So super dimensional at times too. I think this is more dimensional. This is more dimension that I can achieve on just a white piece of paper or something like that. So I don't know what it's Linda D's favorite new favorite. So she has great taste. Watching videos from 10 years ago. That goes back. I was saying to someone, I think I started this when my son was in first grade, this video series. So yeah, those ones from 10 years ago were also just shot on a point and shoot camera, that overheated after, a few minutes too. So there's a lot of like part one, part two, part three, because I didn't have the software to stitch them together either. Oh, and YouTube, until you have to apply to have longer videos than a certain minute. There was a minute restriction, and then you were able to add in longer videos as long as you didn't do like have any copyright infringements or anything like that. So yeah. So now we can do videos of 15 hours long. I don't know. I'm not going to add in that deer right now. I think I want to. I've added in this one deer into this scene many, many times before, so I don't know. I think we'll just leave it as is. Uh, we'll put a photograph of you in here, Linda, like that, standing in the distance like that. We need a little silhouette of you about that big. That would be kind of interesting, huh? Is having a person standing there, looking off into the distance, not looking back, but look into the scene like that. I think that'd be really good. But see, this is it's really great about Vellum. See this little area in here? Isn't this great with the Vellum? In that we can do these right here. We can paint them out, and then we can stamp this on the backside of the Vellum. That doesn't look like those trees are stamped on the backside of the Vellum, doesn't it? Does it? Because they're stamped out in black. So like I said, it's almost like transparent. It shows right through. Oh, and one of the things is when you spray seal, not spray seal, but use the spray adhesive to adhere these two surfaces together, the Vellum gets a little bit more transparent, so you can see through it more than just holding it up to the photograph before. You know what I mean? There's that kind of wetness. So someone was saying, how do you get rid of the spots? Where there's a thicker kind of application of that adhesive, it gets a little more transparent. It's like adding kind of a moisture to it that just remains. So that's key too. I think one of the things is I think I started using more spray adhesive maybe, but in a smooth application. I think that adhered better. I wasn't showing so many spots, but I think some of my first ones though, I was using a very old can, like I said, so it was really spotty. So maybe it's not a great application for Vellum. And, but you can use that spray adhesive for other things, just adhering things together, but just maybe not, for the Vellum look like that. So glad you liked it, Crimson Rose. Thanks as always for tuning in and checking it out. Yeah. Go check out, everyone go check out Stamp Wars. It's great fun. I'm going to go and check that out myself here too. Let's see. Yeah. Let's get over to see Stamp Wars over there. So anyways, that is it with the Vellum. Thanks very much for tuning in. We have purple birch trees here. And let's all go and see what's going on over in the Nancy Stamps channel and what set or what things they're working with there. But anyways, there's my little piece for the Purple Trees Stampscapes Facebook group challenge. All right, thanks everyone for joining in. If you're over in the in Stamp Wars, we'll see you over there.